LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday, May 25th, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Hello and thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome anchor FayWhat. She is a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Fays for Her Family. Also, make sure to catch the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, online, or, of course, your smart television. Good evening, Fay.
Good evening, boys. It's really tough to be sitting here today. I have to acknowledge that, but I have to say that I'm at least happy that I get to be with all of you. Next, let's welcome anchor John Hayden. He has been a journalist for 27 years and now works for several South Florida outlets, including SFGN, South Florida Gay News. Welcome, John.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Faye. Let's also welcome anchor Paul Thomas. He is currently the chairman of the LGBTQ plus Advisory Committee to the City of Miami Beach, a board member of Miami Beach Pride, on the board of trustees for the Point Foundation, and the endorsement committee for SAVE. He has over 30 years of experience in the healthcare and education fields, specializing in AIDS, HIV treatments, as well as an activist advocate for marginalized communities. Locally, he works with many of our nonprofits and FQHCs, providing a wide range of services. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, John. Thank you very much. Let's welcome anchor Scott Galvin. He is the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida, providing a safe space for LGBTQ plus youth, a member of the North Miami City Council, the longest serving LGBTQ plus legislator in the state of Florida. He sits on the board of directors for AIDS Healthcare Foundation and volunteers with the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. Good evening, Scott.
And thank you, Paul. We're the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, May 25th.
Well, let's begin by queering up the USA View. Guns and LGBTQ plus as Uvalde reminds America of Pulse just days before the tragic anniversary. In April of 1999, a shooting at Calaban High School claimed 13 lives. In December of 2012, a shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School claimed 26 lives. In February of 2018, a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School claimed 17 lives. In May of 2018, a shooting at Santa Fe High School claimed 10 lives. Yesterday, on May 24, 2022, a shooting of Robb Elementary School claimed 21 lives, mostly 4th, 5th graders. The nation now mourns again. Calls for gun reform will no doubt be made, and accusations of making the attack a political issue. In a nation that now has a body count of 87 children and teachers, just 3 weeks before the anniversary of the Pulse massacre that left 49 LGBTQ plus individuals dead in Orlando. Days before the anniversary of the Virginia Beach shooting that left 12 dead. Only 10 days after the shooting of Buffalo's supermarket left 10 dead. At what point does the pro-life crowd actually care about lives? Did they care in 1977 at the University of Texas shooting that left 17 dead? Did they care at the Sutherland Springs church shooting in 2017 that left 26 dead? This is a distinctly American issue. No other country has to face these massacres with the frequency of Americans. And on Friday, the NRA will hold their annual conference just 4 hours from Uvalde in Houston. Guest speakers are going to include Tommy Loren, Kristi Noem, and of course, Donald Trump.
Wow, what lack of respect for these people to have this and still go along with it after what happened yesterday. I'm speechless. It's prayers without action mean nothing, and we're constantly saying thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. As soon as this happened, I sent a message over to Chevron Jones. I sent a message over to Representative Michelle Rayner, and I said, what the hell can we do? Yeah. And I feel I've never felt so useless in my life.
The interesting part is about the NRA to me is that you cannot bring guns into the NRA rally.
I didn't know that.
You're never allowed to bring guns into the NRA rally. And so while they're in talking about guns and trying to make it easier and easier for anyone around the country to obtain a gun, you cannot walk through that door with a gun.
Which is also interesting because Texas is an open carry state.
Right.
They make this exception at NRA, but you can walk around with a gun, open carry. Governor Abbott led that. Today there has been a scuff between the Democratic
and him, right?
O'Rourke, and he got into a shouting match over this today, an open carry of what Governor Abbott has done, and also the fear, frankly, here in Florida that DeSantis is going to follow the same path, open carry. So.
Didn't he sign a bill calling it constitutional carry? Wasn't that what they called the bill in Texas, I think? Or was it here?
That's called gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's what that's called, yeah.
Well, no, gaslighting, I want to bring something up. The Attorney General of Texas last night, or yesterday afternoon when this was all still breaking, Ken Paxton, he literally said, it's not going to be the last time. He literally said to every parent, this is going to happen to your child.
Oh
this is going to happen. And if we can look at this image on a sec. He was talking about it while wearing a campaign t-shirt. And the reason I like to show this image is because it shows what they care about, is the next election. That's all they really care about. You could fill my backyard pool with a pool of blood from the kids that have died, and Republicans would jump in and dive and splash around. They don't care about anything. And the fact that he was able to talk about it wearing his campaign shirt on Election Day says that he doesn't give a damn about kids, any kids. There's schools where they should be the safest. There are churches, concerts, nowhere are kids safe. And he literally said, it's not going to be the last time. And unfortunately, it's probably something that I have to agree with him. It won't be the last time.
I worry about the apathy of a generation of children, because you have to become very apathetic to do active shooter drills.
And to get used to it.
Yeah, you become desensitized, right? And I wonder what happens to them when they get older. This whole gun and no gun thing, I'm also from a military family, and you know what else is interesting? All the military personnel on a military base, you were not allowed to walk around with a gun. The only person that can have a gun on a military base is a military policeman. But all the soldiers cannot walk around with guns. I don't know why they want people in society to just be able to wander around with guns. It doesn't make any sense.
When you say the apathy of active shooter drills in school, the apathy of that is very funny, because the first thought that I had in the 1960s is the silly duck and cover drills that took place in school, as if ducking under your desk would have one bit of an effect on a nuclear attack.
Yeah.
I think the exact same thing on the active shooting drills and your word of apathy. That's what pops into my mind. Scott, I'd be remiss. I mean, you represent an organization called Safe Schools.
Right.
Thoughts in terms of the safety in our schools?
I think it now comes down to the parents. Like Faye said when she reached out to some of the elected officials at the state level, what can we do? Clearly, elected officials are not going to do anything. We're going to have the back and forth. We're going to have the thoughts and prayers. But unless parents start acting, and I don't mean voting, that's trite to say, get out and vote in the next election. What they need to do is start advocating, agitating, going to their school boards, going to their schools,
Getting involved.
demanding, getting involved in any way possible. I heard somebody on the radio today say that the teachers should stand or the parents should stand at the schoolroom doors and they could, defend their kids from the people with guns. Ironically, those who said, let's have teachers armed in the classroom, the shooter yesterday got past an armed policeman, one or two, I forget how many it was, and was still able to wreak that carnage. So I think it's come to the point where the parents have to be the ones to take the lead.
And I think everyone needs to take the lead, okay? It's, we're constantly being told, if you see something, say something, right? This kid had posted about just killing his grandmother. He posted about to go to an elementary school. And in those 15 minutes, nobody could call 911 or nobody can try to figure out a way to stop the kid. This didn't just start last week. This gentleman was mentally ill for a very long time and nothing occurred.
And Al, you mentioned 4th and 5th graders. And to me, I just think, our response since Sandy Hook has been teach the kids how to hide under the desk, run for their lives, barricade themselves in a closet. Like since Sandy Hook, we've given the kids the responsibility of you better learn how to save your own life because
we're not going to do it.
That's the best we can do as a society. I just don't believe
a uniquely American problem.
4th and 5th graders, figure it out, kids.
Most of you guys here know me, and I like to think I'm somewhat level-headed and don't really buy into a lot of conspiracy theories. But I truly believe that Paxton, Governor Abbott in Texas, they're supporting anarchy. They're supporting a free-for-all state where because they're saying everybody should have guns. They want to outsource our children's safety to some ad hoc militia. This is what they want. This is what we've always sort of thought of them as, like the David Koresh's or those yahoos out in Idaho living in the mountains and playing soldier. But they want this in their cities. They want this in downtown Dallas. They want this through the streets of Fort Worth. They want this everywhere. And once all of their people have guns, they will turn on us.
It's interesting. We need to move on, and I want to make an observation in terms of where I'm sitting. It's interesting to me if it was one of Ted Cruz's children yesterday or Governor Abbott's children yesterday, we would be hearing completely different things today. That is the point that you just made. It doesn't hit home for them, so therefore it is not an important issue. It's very sad to me that with Pulse anniversary and the connection of how we tell this story in connection of the proximity to the June 12th anniversary. Yesterday was aimed at children, indefensible. Pulse was aimed at Latin gay people at 2:04 in the morning, indefensible. And 10 days ago, it was aimed at black people that could not get to any other grocery store except this one within miles of their ability without taking 2 or 3 bus connections just to eat food. This gun violence is aimed at marginalized and people doing a church service in a synagogue or in a black church or in whatever. It's aimed in a very specific way. It doesn't affect a Governor Abbott. It doesn't affect a Governor DeSantis. It's never going to affect the Ted Cruz. And until they feel the way we do, nothing is going to change. You cannot advocate for change because no change is coming. It's interesting to me, and one other point that I want to make in contrast to you, you remind me of me, and I'm not that anymore. I'm not angry. I posted today that I'm not angry about it because I'm just numb about it. And I have to say that I am experiencing and suffering PTSD. I know it for sure. A couple of reasons why. Today, I went to Sunshine Cathedral's midday prayer. Robert Durrell did a midday prayer. I could see the shock all over his face. And his shock is, you're going to turn to God and pray for something that's not coming. And he said, and I wrote it down, let us be the answer to our prayers. Mm-hmm. Don't ask God to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. Mm-hmm. Boom, there it is.
That's it.
All conversation ends. We're not willing to do anything about this, and we haven't, which is one of the reasons I congratulate David Hopkins, who wrote this story for Queer News Tonight. Instead of railing off the rails, he just goes fact, fact, fact,
I noticed.
fact.
Yeah.
Kill you with the facts. Second thing, I went in today just to see where we are. I hadn't done this in a while, but I do it again today. We like to be number one in America. We chant at the Olympics and sporting events, USA, USA, USA. And the subject that we're talking, we are by far the best in the world, by far. We have more guns than any other country in the world by a factor of 14. Wow. Number 2 is 14 times behind us. We have more mass shootings in the United States than any country in the world. We have more deaths by guns than any country in the world. We have killed more children in our schools than any country in the world. And oh, by the way, we are so good at what we do, combine the next 50 countries together and multiply it by 10, and they still don't match the United States. Right. Understand the math that I just put in front of us? That's how good we are at this. I am suffering PTSD and feeling numbness because next week I'm going to go to Gay Days. On June 2nd, 2016, I went to Gay Days in my last time official capacity. And I took with me a very good friend and employee named Eddie Sotomayor. And 7 days later, he was the first name announced at the Pulse Massacre, killed. Eddie Sotomayor. I always say his name. I'll show the video one more time of me sitting in Orlando Regional Medical Center like those families did yesterday, listening to who's stable, who's critical. If I don't say your name, it means they're dead. And I'm going to show the video of me sitting in ORMC when that moment was going on. And HIPAA was suspended by the president. And when they finished listing the names in this private conference area at Orlando Regional Medical Center, just 1 mile from Pulse, I knew when he finished, Eddie's gone. And that was Gay Days. Going to Gay Days, 1 week later at Pulse Nightclub, and Eddie is gone. Coordinating my efforts at Gay Days, 1 week later, he's gone. Just like these 4th and 5th graders. No control at all. Next week will be the first time I go back to Gay Days in official capacity. Hotspots and Happening Out Television Network is the presenting sponsor of Gay Days and OMW. And I sat in a meeting today talking about the construction of what we're going to do with the expo and what Hotspots and Happening Out Television Network is going to do. And do not say one word of, this will be my first official return to Gay Days since Pulse. The day after I watch what happened yesterday to 4th and 5th graders, 10 days after I watch what has happened to marginalized black people in the only place that they can get food. And then you show that picture of that ridiculous and horrible, horrible human being that is the Attorney General in Texas. And that's the world we're in. So I appreciate your anger because that's where I was. You're looking in a mirror 6 years from now. God forbid any of you are affected. Maybe some of you are and I just don't know. But God forbid any of you are affected the way I have been affected by senseless gun violence of a gay Muslim man that walked into a nightclub and killed 49 people and injured 52 others. It's senseless. And what are we going to do in the 6 years since? Or Marjorie Stoneman Douglas? Or yesterday? Is absolutely nothing. And that's the world America is. That's the way America is.
But we move on, and we queer up South Florida gay news and explore America's relationship with marijuana.
That might help me.
See me after the
Medicinal.
Medicinal. Yes, thank you.
Well, spoiler alert, America's relationship with marijuana is a muddled mess. Possession and use remains a crime at the federal level and in some states. Many states, including Florida, fortunately, regulate it for marijuana use, or for medical use, while other states allow people to buy it for recreational use as well. Now, beyond state laws, each county and city seems to be deciding how they want to treat violators. Currently, the state's attorney for Broward County isn't investigating or prosecuting any arrests for under 20 grams of marijuana. Wilton Manors City Commission has updated how it treats minor marijuana infractions of under 20 grams. Instead of fines stretching into the hundreds of dollars, now each offense will be $25 plus confiscation of the contraband. Now, the citation won't be forwarded to state or county authorities, though it could still show up if someone did a very specific background check and looked at anyone's particular criminal history in Wilton Manors. This as the city welcomes businesses selling CBD and Delta 8 strain products. So, what's the point of even policing it? The answer, it gives officers the ability to do further searches on individuals and their possessions. It's important to note this doesn't affect anyone with a Florida medical marijuana card, but you better have it and be prepared to show it. And you can learn more about this story tomorrow online or on stands in SFGN. And the reason I think this is important is because our marijuana laws have disproportionately affected certain groups of people.
People of color.
People of color.
The poor.
The poor, yes. And this is just sending so many mixed signals. And why are we still caring about this? And I really haven't been able to get a straight answer from anyone. I'm not putting Wilton Manors on blast because they just happen to be the hook for this story. It's just insane.
It is.
And it hurts people. And I'm going to need to
Can I
take
try
something.
to give you an answer?
I'm going to have to take something after this show.
Me too, by the way. At my therapy session, I think. The reason is because it has been easier for politicians at whatever level to focus on things that are far less relevant than the things that are really important and relevant. And as a result, locking up or managing through law enforcement, people of color, disadvantaged in terms of economic position, the neighborhoods of where you live. If you're in a great white neighborhood, you're not worried about this law. Even if it was enforceable on you, you're not worrying about it because they're not even going to try to find out if you're violating the law. If you live in a poor person of color or other marginalized neighborhood, you have to worry about this. And over the last 40 years, we filled our prisons and our jails with a management from, I dare say it, principally privileged white people that have said, this is how we will manage you. And as a result, these are why we have these kind of ridiculous laws. Contradictory laws.
Contradictory and interesting because even when they try to say it's legal, you can't be under the influence and drive, and you can't go to work like that. And there's so many places you still can't be, right? And so when you said it's a muddled mess, it's like, well, even if someone uses it for medicinal purposes, they can't come to work high.
You're still driving impaired, and you can easily be arrested for that, Paul, for sure. But I've got, I'm from the hood, and I've got friends that are still in jail for carrying some, okay? And they weren't selling; they were just about to have a little party, and got caught with it, and were put in jail for a substantial amount of time, Paul, that completely affected their future lives. So they were already marginalized, they were already in debt, they were already having financial issues. Then this happened, now they could never get a regular steady job. So what? They go back to what they know, which is bad.
There's very, very bright people in uber liberal progressive areas, the think tanks around Cambridge, Massachusetts, for example, that have said that structurally we fractured American society in the 1970s when we began to change these kind of drug policy laws, that the reaction to the 1960s anything goes reaction of privileged white America changed in the 1970s to say, no, we're not going to allow people of color, we're not going to allow queer, we're not going to allow the poor to have unfettered access in these ways and change the laws. And they started to fill our jails and our prisons and enforcements of arrests in these kind of ways and had a dramatic effect on all of these populations because of an overreaction to fear. I'm scared at what I'm watching. Free sex, oh God forbid. Low-cost drugs, oh God forbid. And as a result, it was an overreaction of the fear of white privileged society to do exactly what you just said. And these are the consequences 30, 40, 50 years later.
I think your conversation is very interesting as well because in order for them to legalize marijuana, they have to let a lot of people out of jail. You can't legally sell marijuana and allow so many people to have access and leave people in prison for life. And so they're stuck, right? Because they don't want to empty the prisons because a lot of them make a lot of money off those prisons.
And God forbid me make the accusation, to your point, we can't do that, because what would happen if all of these people poured out of prisons and their voting rights were restored? Oh my God, they would vote for liberal Democratic candidates.
But there's where President Obama missed a golden opportunity, if you want to look at it like that. I was hoping that in his last days in office, he would grant an across-the-board pardon to anybody who was serving marijuana sentence over, X level of possession. He didn't, and for whatever reason, I have no idea. It's incredibly discouraging.
Marijuana should not be lumped in with all other drugs. Okay, marijuana is not like cocaine. All right, all right. Let's continue. We're going to queer up the road to Stonewall. San Francisco lesbian fire chief addresses Pride Parade uniform ban. The LGBTQ plus community and law enforcement have had a long and tumultuous relationship. We all know that. While there are many who feel uncomfortable around law enforcement, there are also many who have fought to be able to work within the police to try and help improve the community. Those factions are now clashing in San Francisco, and the board of SF Pride has said that LGBTQ plus uniform officers cannot march in the parade. While the police department will be on hand providing safety to the crowd, they are being told that they are not allowed to celebrate their pride. San Francisco Mayor London Breed has also said she will not participate in the Pride Parade in solidarity with the uniform workers. Watch this.
We fought for years to be able to be in public safety. Both police and fire did. The LGBT community did. And so now to not allow us to march in our uniforms, or not allow the police department to march in their uniforms, is it's really disheartening. And I think it harms the legacy of LGBT activists who fought for years for representation. In 1991, I went to the Pride Parade. I was not yet in the fire department, and a woman came up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to be in the fire department?" And she was in uniform. And I saw myself in someone else, and I thought, wow, maybe I can do this. And here we are, 30 plus years later. And, so it's really important that we have people in uniform at the parade, so we can get into public safety and take care of our communities.
Police officers will be on hand on the perimeter to provide safety and protect the area, but not allowed to march. What kind of message do you think that the decision to ban those in uniform sends to the greater community?
I think it's really challenges an already tenuous relationship. I'm all, I want to be about inclusivity and about having conversations with others. And that's what we do in our work every day. And I think we need to open up those lines of communication and really open up and be more inclusive.
I know that we have a strained relationship, LGBTQ plus and law enforcement, right? But I have to mention, and I'm so glad that Paul is on with us today. At Miami Beach Pride, I would grab Al's arm every time we saw a beautiful cop car in rainbow or an officer marching with their flag, because they were so proud and they're part of us.
Right.
So then this means that we're not seeing them. They're not allowed to be who they truly are. Doesn't that negate what we're always trying to do of inclusivity?
Not to me.
Really?
I don't think
Okay.
they should be in uniform.
Tell me why.
Because you have to, what she's talking about is individuals who have taken on a career. What the LGBTQ leadership that I know of around the country is saying is, your systemic policies have not changed. You're very dangerous to our community. When we had this in New York City Pride last year, while they were complaining about not being able to be at Pride in uniform, which they weren't allowed to, the police beat up 17 people at Pride.
Wow.
Right? Until I see systemic change, not just in writing, but in actions and how they change policing so that police remember that they're working for all of us and not just some of us, I don't think they should show up in uniform. I think, you know, we have prides for our community. And I keep hearing a lot of, well, we want to make it so that straight people with kids will feel safe. No, we don't. LGBTQ plus people are under attack every single day of their lives. We ask for one day or 1 weekend a year where we can be safe from all of those threats. Why do people feel like they have a right to even be in there?
Because they're LGBTQ plus, though,
No,
Paul.
but they can go to the parade. They don't have to go in uniform. Nobody's telling them they can't go. But that uniform is very offensive. You know how many of our black and brown trans people have been abused by the police?
Too many.
Should they be able to walk next to the trans community and act like everything is okay? Everything is not okay. If you want to come to Pride, come as a gay person and enjoy Pride. But until we deal with these issues, they should never be. We should not get reharmed and re-traumatized at Pride. Not one person should ever have to go through that.
For sure to jump in. The trauma is just seeing the uniform and
Absolutely.
what it represents.
I don't like to see police. I don't like to be policed. I don't pretend like they're part of me. They're not.
I'm curious.
They are
That's
not.
you, but that's a fatal flaw for the LGBT community. If we paint every police officer with the same brush.
I didn't say police, I said system. The system is the
Okay,
same.
so you've got a police officer as an individual who wants to attend to Pride.
Right.
They are queer. They want to be supportive.
Come to Pride. Doctors don't
In
insist on
uniform,
being a
but
Pride in
in
uniform.
uniform. But
No
you're
other
not- yeah.
profession
Yeah.
insists on being a Pride in
fully
uniform
disagree.
except for cops.
Well, how about
Here's
service?
Nobody else says I
Would you
need to
feel
be
that
there
way
in my
over Air
uniform.
Force?
Military.
I'm in the Army.
I actually fought and I bring the VA military personnel to Pride in uniform
And-
so that they can wear the
So
uniform.
your distinction is the enforcement by police officers or law enforcement as opposed to uniforms for like military.
Exactly.
So
and it's because the policing system, right, is really, really, really broken.
you don't-
And we need a safe place. Like, I need a safe place at Pride. I don't need that cop to
I
feel good about
understand.
themselves.
Okay,
You have to-
God forbid, if somebody gets shot, if a pulse-type shooting breaks out at Pride Parade, who are you gonna call?
No, police
Who you gonna-
there to
who you gonna
protect the
call?
community
But that's the
is
thing, you're
different
sa- yeah,
than marching
it's-
in your
but
uniform.
It's not. That's just like saying, you know,
Well,
we
you
should-
don't worry about
we
the
should
cops beating you up every day.
Oh,
I do.
Okay, I would
Right.
beg to
So
differ.
we're
with
not
you
looking
there.
at it from the same-
I would, as
same
a gay,
area.
as a gay male, I get it. You're a gay man of color, but as a
Right.
gay male, I still have to
No,
worry
just a
about
person of color,
Yeah.
right?
Regardless,
It's harder to notice you than to notice
this
me.
Is, granted,
All we asked for was
no,
one safe
no,
place.
Granted.
I don't know why the police, out of all professions, insist on this uniform thing. Don't wear
Why
your
shouldn't
uniform.
they? Why
Honor the
shouldn't they?
fact that people
They're
are
willing-
traumatized
they're willing
and
to
let
risk
them have
their
a safe
lives.
I'm
space.
hearing,
Willing
I'm
to
hearing
risk
your
their lives.
observations and why your observation, but what I'm not hearing from you, which I do want to explore, is this is a gay, in San Francisco's instance. New York was different. Because New York's interpretation was we want no police at New York City Pride, and any police protection that you do are going to be outside the boundaries of, we would like it outside of these areas. And the police department, New York Police Department agreed to that and still had the problems.
And
that
still
you talked
beat up
about.
17
That's acknowledged, true. San Francisco's situation is different. The reason this is making national news is it is like the fire chief in San Francisco. These are gay, LGBT rather, I shouldn't say gay, LGBTQ plus police officers or sheriff officers that want to walk and be in the Pride Parade that are banned. It's not police enforcement even. This is just representation of their own identity.
Right.
Now, why is that not?
Their job is not their identity. You're going to an LGBTQ Pride Parade, leave your job at home,
Hold on.
and go enjoy
Hold on.
Pride.
How can we say?
Because that uniform is very offensive to many, many, many people, and we shouldn't be putting the feelings of a
So we're
system,
making-
of a
we're-
policing
here-
system
now I hear
over the
something
trauma
that I didn't hear before.
that our
I
community
acknowledge.
goes through.
I acknowledge.
We
I
should
hear
not
something
ever
new.
do that.
But
We
in
should always
this-
protect our community,
That
no matter what.
observation assumes that the majority will of the entire LGBTQ community should be respected over the individual's choice of, I'm LGBT and I happen to be a police officer or a sheriff's officer, and so therefore I would like to participate in this way. The majority will of the community is what you're saying should be respected.
We only have pride for one reason. To give a safe place to our community
I ask you a
that
very
should never, ever,
question.
ever be watered down.
Paul, I ask you a very specific question.
It's not watered
the
down.
majority of the community, therefore, makes the decision that as the individual officer who is LGBT, you can't participate in uniform because the majority of us feel, because of the entire...
No, this is the thing, though. Why do they feel like they need to be there in
They
uniform?
want to.
Shouldn't
That's
they? Why
good
shouldn't
enough.
they? Teachers
I
want
just
to be
want
there.
to.
Doctors want to be there.
Yeah, but they don't walk around in
there.
uniform.
If they want to, they
but you-
can.
No other
just-
profession does.
You just said you okay with military people being there in uniform.
Military was very, very
How do you-
important
so
because
how do you
they
draw
had
the
to
line
be in
between-
the
it's a
closet.
uniform.
A lot of them could
Cops
not
had to
be
be
out.
in the closet.
Could not be out. They served our country. They went through Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They went through a lot of things. The military has
You don't
been-
think there's some cops that have also
Yep.
gone through
Yes,
the same thing, though?
I think
went
so.
through all of that.
I think they have.
So Paul,
Right?
do you favor defunding the police?
Do you know what defunding the police means?
I asked a question. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know what it
there-
means, though. I don't think
right,
you do.
Okay. Well,
If you don't agree
I'm
with it, then you
sorry,
don't know what it
wait,
means.
wait,
I'm sorry
wait.
that somebody who has a different opinion from
Give
you
me
doesn't
give me the
understand.
privilege
Let's
of
take it
ending that line
Sure.
of conversation
Sure.
because it's a whole different. We're talking about this specific issue of representation in the parade. One last area to explore, and I appreciate you coming. I
Well,
appreciate you
as a
expressing-
member, as a board member of Pride, right? We put safety at the top, right? We have on our festival trans tents.
Wait.
And guess what? The last thing that they need is for cops to be wandering in and out when they just got harassed the whole.
Well, we did have cops
the
though on
police
Miami
cars,
Beach, right.
and all of those cars that were involved
Right.
in the parade, and all of
Right.
the officers for sheriffs and different city police departments.
Right.
Your feeling is that is traumatizing and should not have happened.
It is traumatizing. I talk to
you.
people.
And let's take it one more
no.
time.
All right,
I talk to
wait,
people all the time.
I'll now be quiet.
One step
Sorry.
farther.
I'll be
My
quiet.
patients all the
One
time. I
step
know what
farther. I
happens
didn't
to
get
them.
my answer, and they should not have participated.
I don't believe that they need to be there in uniform.
The answer is no, they should not have
Anyone can
participated.
participate.
Is that what I'm hearing you say? No, they should not have.
Not in uniform.
Okay. Well, obviously they're going to be in uniform if they're driving their own city's police cars. It's
Right.
interesting to me.
Now,
We're
here's
gonna-
another thing. We asked for diversity and LGBTQ training. That has never been done. They had a 3-hour optional course 10 years ago. They still can't show us what type of training police get in addressing our community. So this is what I'm talking about, the system. When we're saying we need to make sure your system is working for our community, and they can't show that because they're not
I think it would be fair to let
Beach
Scott
Police
talk.
Department?
Every
Miami
police
Beach?
department,
Because the
yes.
city of North Miami does have to go through sensitivity training.
not sensitivity training.
The city of North Miami, who had one of those squad cars, who I'm thrilled to say has out officers that appear at,
I'm
at
glad
our
for
events.
all of that.
When you say they can't show, they can't prove, who is they? The Miami Beach Police Department?
Any police department.
Okay, then I will
Show your
I
training.
will absolutely, I welcome you to the North Miami Police Department this week, tomorrow morning.
Unfortunately, I've got to close the
right.
conversation because of time. But we've stumbled into something that we for sure want to explore at Queer News Tonight because there's various opinions in our own community.
And it's
much
so
less the
important, and
exterior.
it's so important.
Very, very important. I'm just going to leave it at
Leave
that.
it there.
This conversation has been excellent on police.
Can we all agree that the fire department should definitely bring their hoses?
And not wear shirts.
Paul, we're gonna get you to talk about the ridiculousness of Russia
Yeah,
now.
with these people.
Okay, we're gonna queer up the worldview. All right, here we go. Russia, my little thing is not working. Russia bans.
That sounds like personal problem.
Russia bans
Well.
Pete Buttigieg, Dr. Rachel Levine, and all LGBTQ+ members of Congress. As U.S. and G7-led sanctions against Russia take their toll on the country's economy and continued lack of success in invading Ukraine shakes the belief of Putin's top supporters. he is lashing out against those he sees as his enemies. His cabinet released a list, which is a ban on certain people entering the country, and it's topped by several Republicans who have spoken out against Putin, and pretty much any U.S. politician who's a Democrat, including President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It should be unsurprising that he has also targeted LGBTQ+ members of the government, including Admiral Rachel Levine and Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. While several prominent former politicians for both parties are on the list, Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and Richard Grenell are apparently still welcomed by the dictator.
This is so ridiculous. You can't come to Russia. You can't come to Russia. Al, you sure you're not on that list? I mean, come on, Putin. Like, are you serious? And do you really think that Pete Buttigieg with his husband are going to go there on a vacation one day? He's not going to go anywhere near Russia. So you don't give a crap he's on that list. You're an idiot.
Novosibirsk is very beautiful.
Is it really this time of year?
Yes, it is.
Sure it is.
That's what's so interesting about this story, that it is so inanely stupid. It's interesting.
Yeah.
That they took the time.
He was
right?
he was a G8 member. Russia, once upon a time, remember when you were in the world community? By the way, the ruble has completely collapsed and is not being accepted anywhere. They cannot buy anything in the world. This was a G8 country, definitely in the G20, and we're not going to let you come in.
Donald Trump is still allowed in. I encourage him
Richard
to go.
Grenell.
Go, please.
Allowed in. Pence too. He's allowed in.
It is so funny. What world are we living in when we would even let the premier of North Korea visit the United States if there was some substantive ability to talk about something? Nope, we're just not. I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. That's Putin.
Have you seen that list? The list is long as hell. Literally, they're like, okay, who hates you? I'm still writing. Still writing. My God.
What are the Russian people going to say when media finally, he can't do this forever. Come on. He can't have a media blackout forever. When it comes back, and I'm sitting here reading my Moscow Morning News, wait, we banned the president of the United States from ever visiting what? How did this happen?
They'll say what the Republicans here already say, fake news.
Oh, it's fake
news.
And,
And,
okay, all right. We'll just leave it at that then, fake news. All right.
Let's queer up the road to Stonewall. Pink Triangle installation is underway in San Francisco for Pride Month. Yesterday began the annual installation of a giant pink triangle on Twin Peaks, just outside San Francisco. This is the 27th year that the triangle has been displayed for Pride Month, and it represents the pink triangle worn by LGBTQ+ concentration camp prisoners during Nazi Germany. While the triangle was originally made of pink tarps, it's now made up of pink LED lights and streamers that mean the display is visible day or night and can be seen up to 20 miles away. Watch this.
There will be 2,700 LED lights strung along and inside of this display. They're also going to attach 10-foot-long pink streamers around the triangle's outline. So once it's done, people will be able to see this display from as far as 20 miles away. You'll also be able to see it at night, again because of the lights. The organizer of this says it's an important tool to educate people about LGBTQ history. Back in the 1930s, the Nazis used the pink triangle to identify gays and lesbians in their concentration camps.
Many people think that it was just another colorful symbol to represent the gay community, like the rainbow flag. But of course, it was forged in tragedy, and so that's what we're trying to remember.
This is the 27th year the pink triangle will light up Twin Peaks in San Francisco. You'll recall in years past, the display was created with pink tarps. Now they have those LED lights so everyone can see it at night. And so this display will be up once it's finished and once it's complete here by this weekend. It'll be up for everyone to see for the entire month of June, leading up to the last weekend in June, which is San Francisco Pride Week and Parade and Celebration.
I love this so much.
I love that.
I was blessed to live in San Francisco for a couple of years. I lived there from 2006 to 2011, and I loved this pink. I thought this pink triangle was a pink vagina. So I would go up there.
Oh,
Twin Peaks is right over Castro, so it's just so perfectly located, and you can see the whole city. And I would just sit up there next to that big pink vagina and just think, wow, I love being gay.
So what you're saying is Twin Peaks were right above the vagina.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Wow.
And it's time to officially end today.
We're done, right?
Thanks for watching, everyone.
I think it's fantastic because so many people don't know what the pink triangle stands for.
Yeah.
And as they're trying to take LGBTQ history out of schools, they're trying to take American history out of schools. I think anytime we get an opportunity to teach anyway,
You know,
Yep.
it's such a it's
Yep.
we should
such
take
a good
advantage
point
of that.
because
Absolutely right.
the pink triangle represents death.
Yep.
It represents Nazi
Concentration
death.
camps.
Concentration camps.
This is horrible.
It's so interesting to me because when I have a conversation of people that do not know what Stonewall is, and they learn of the park and the gay bar, they think it's a celebration of it's something really positive of Stonewall. No. It was a horrible event that kicked off the LGBTQ civil rights movement because rocks and bottles and bricks were being thrown because police officers were coming into the bar beating gay people. It was a protest. This is the exact same thing, and so your point is a bullseye to me.
Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
I'm Jason Parsley. I'm the executive editor of the South Florida Gay News, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Hey, Jason. So that's today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only LGBT live original television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
And if our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, John Hayden, Paul Thomas, and Scott Galvin. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now